Ooh, we need to make a pie today. Whoops.
Yeah. So if you guys recall, about 6 months ago, back in August, whenever HP and I got the Maserati Ghibli, we had set up a competition where we would basically be putting 5 economical cars against the Maserati Ghibli to see which car would perform better. In fact, let's insert that clip right here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a challenge on this channel. For 6 months, we're going to be tracking the revenue, the profit, and the expenses of this Maserati Ghibli that we just recently purchased. And we are going to be competing it against 5 $5,000 cars, or 5 cars totaling out to $30,000, which is what we paid for this car here. How it's going to work is we're going to be tracking all of the maintenance, all of the profit, all of the cost, and we are going to be comparing these two cars to actually see which one is more profitable. Is it better to get one expensive car, or is it better to get 5 cheaper cars?
So today we're going to be talking about the final numbers of how our 5 economical cars did versus our Maserati Ghibli. But first, we need to get pie ingredients.
Alright, good boy. Here you go. Now.
So as of right now, HP and I actually don't know who won this competition. We don't know if the Maserati made more than the economical cars, or we don't know if it's the other way around. So because of that, the game plan here is that what we're going to do is we're going to go to the store, we're each going to pick out a pie, and then that is the pie that we'll get pied in our face with. So HP will get pied in the face with the pie he chose. If he loses, if I lose, I'll get pied in the face with the pie that I chose. Now, the thing is that later today, once we're back at the house, I will run the final numbers, and then from there, we will do the pieing. So HP, what type of pie did you choose?
Kenny's all natural mango pie. Some call it a slice of paradise.
And I chose to make my own pie, because if I'm getting pied in the face, I at least want it to taste good. That was supposed to be a teaspoon, not a tablespoon.
One hour later.
Bourbon.
That was the most underwhelming response.
I don't think he knew what to expect.
Okay, take 2.
Alright, so we got our pies. Now let's go over the numbers. Give me your pie.
If you drop that pie, I will
That
cry.
is nice and toasty. It's about to get dropped in your face.
To refresh you guys on this competition, so HP and I bought the Maserati back in August, and the plan was to say, give 6 months and compare the earnings of the Maserati with 5 economical cars. So the cars that we chose for this experiment were our 2007 Ford Focus, our 2009 Ford Escape, our 2007 Toyota Yaris, our 2010 Honda Fit, and our 2011 Mazda 2. Now, the rule with this competition was like a few different things. Number one, we took into account all of the expenses of the vehicles, so things like insurance, repairs, anything like that. But we also took into account HP's time, and we valued this time off of a $25 per hour basis. So basically, if a car needed an hour worth of work, we would deduct $25 off of the earnings for that car for that month. The reason is because people were saying that having 5 cars versus 1 car is going to require so much time that it wouldn't make it as worth it.
Now, $25 is sort of like an arbitrary rate, but it's pretty much based on a mechanic's rate. Now, maybe not a Maserati mechanic's rate, but we had to be fair.
Yeah, and so we based that off of it. So we did take into account HP's time. So and that also included the time of checking in the vehicles as well. So we estimated how many hours per week we were spending checking in these 5 cars versus the 1 car. We really tried to make it as even as possible. The one expense though that was not taken into account into this experiment for the sake of keeping things fair was the Maserati monthly payment, which was about $700 to $1,000 per month. We oftentimes paid above the payment amount just to get it rid of quicker. So we did not take that into account. HP, do you want to explain a bit why?
And the reason why we didn't do that is because the other smaller economy cars don't actually have a payment to compare that to. So we're pretty much just plainly putting it $30,000 worth of cheap cars to one $30,000 luxury car.
And we felt like if we had included the monthly payment, it just would be so far skewed that it would be impossible for the Maserati to win. So we tried to make it as even as possible, though we know that in reality this experiment was flawed in a number of ways, but that's how we made an effort to try to level the playing field. So let's break down the numbers. So of the, I guess, which one should I do first, the Maserati or the economical cars?
Let's do the Maserati. Everyone has to know how much money this Maserati put in. I mean, this thing was a beast.
Okay, so the Maserati earnings are kind of clumped into 2 different categories. And keep in mind that whenever we originally set to do this experiment, the plan was to have it go for 6 months. We didn't make it that long because the Maserati got totaled, so we only did it for 5. So of earnings, so this is the money that we got brought in from rentals, we made $6,087.22. This is the amount of money that we made from reservations, from overage fees, from things like that. That is after we've taken into account expenses. So that is $6,087.22 in our pockets. But again, not including the car payment. Then we also have the total loss of the Maserati. We're only including the portion of the total loss that we made a profit off of. So we of course use the total loss funds to pay back the Maserati loan and to reimburse ourselves for the money that we put into it. But of the Maserati total loss, we made a total profit of $2,345.06.
Bringing the grand total to $8,432.44.
So that is the total amount of money that the Maserati brought in this 5-month period of time. Not bad.
5 months, $8,000?
And we got to own a Maserati.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big win. That is until you start looking at the numbers of the 5 economical cars, which is way higher. So of the 5 economical cars, again, this is a 2007 Focus, 2009 Escape, 2007 Yaris, Honda Fit, and a Mazda 2. The cars made $16,212.32.
What?
Yep, numbers are right there.
That's twice as much as the Maserati.
Yep, almost twice. Not quite as much, but it is almost twice. Now, the thing that I think is interesting with this experiment and the results of the experiment is that the Maserati really, yes, the Maserati was totaled, which was not a good thing at all, but everything else other than that was a best case scenario. The Maserati had no major repairs. The Maserati was totaled out and we made money off of that total loss. The Maserati was purchased for below market value. And at the same time, things really went wrong with our Turo fleet while we were conducting this experiment. For example, the Ford Escape was out for a good portion of December. The 2007 Toyota Yaris had a transmission problem. It was sitting for 2 months. It also had a very expensive repair along with that. And even with these things taken into account, they still made significantly more. So imagine if these 5 cars were 100% utilized the entire time, which they weren't. And imagine if something had gone wrong with the Maserati, like having tire issues or suspension issues or some sort of engine problem. It's crazy to think how everything played out, and yet the economical car still just absolutely creamed the Maserati. Now, at the end of the day, the reason why we wanted to conduct this experiment in the first place was because for years, people have been telling us that we are wasting our time by buying a lot of low-end economy cars, and instead we'd be better suited buying a couple of high-end luxury cars. And I've told people for years that I didn't think that that was the case, but I never knew for 100% sure, which is why we decided to do this. And this experiment really proved that, in my opinion, and the data doesn't lie either, no matter how you spin it, no matter how you approach it, buying low-end economy cars, at least from a cash flow by cash flow comparison, makes more financial sense.
Now, if you were looking to buy a really nice car and it wasn't that you maybe don't want to afford the vehicle, but you simply just don't have a need for something like that, but it would be nice to have, then this kind of tactic of buying a really expensive luxury car is definitely the route to go. I mean, we own this car for free. We actually made a little money off of it in the worst case scenario, but on top of that, we got to drive it around in our day-to-day life.
I mean, I would argue we made a lot of money off of it, and $6,000 over the course of 5 months isn't a little amount of money. And HP and I were talking before we filmed this video, is there was enough times Monday through Thursday where the car wasn't rented out, and so I'd take it to go to the grocery store, HP would take it to run errands, and so we truly did get to enjoy a Maserati while simultaneously being able to make money off of it as well. And so, to HP's point, if you want to go that route and get a luxury car but you can't justify the purchase on your own, Turo's a really great alternative. Now, one other thing that I do want to note is that as I was going through the numbers for this experiment, I noticed that our 2009 Mercedes-Benz C300 only made $500 less than the Maserati in profit over this same exact period of time. So the Mercedes alone almost made an equal amount as this Maserati, and yet the Mercedes cost $6,000. So I thought that that was an interesting statistic as well.
And it has 40,000 more miles, and it's 6 years older, and arguably not even an equal trim.
I mean, not even close. And so that was crazy. I was pretty blown away by that.
Big difference. Well, I guess now it's time to go get my pie. All right, listen. I was gonna say, let me change your shirt. That's delicious.
Except for that to splatter everywhere.
Oh, my truck! You want a bit of this? It's got beard hair in it, but...
It's so gross. That is so gross. I was not expecting for the massive... That is so gross.
My pie. Mango pie was the best choice. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Maserati. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish I got pie with your pie.
This pie would hurt getting pied with. It's apples.
Worth the pain.
I've got to admit that I'm glad you got pied with mango pie, because this pie, way better.